We're going to review some formal definitions here. So for the first one, if I'm given that one x value, or x sub 1, is less than x sub 2, there's a couple things that can happen. The first one is that if f of x sub 1 is less than f of x sub 2, then your function is said to be increasing. So I'm going to draw a picture here in a second. So the function is increasing. In other words, as I look from left to right, if as x is increasing, y is also getting larger, it's increasing. Kind of intuitive. So if I have some x1, which is smaller than x2, and I also have an f1, which is our y, f of x sub 1, which is our y value, less than f of x sub 2, our function is increasing. The next case is that, I'll go back up in case you didn't catch that. Remember, you can pause the video at any time if you need to copy something. If f of x sub 1 is greater than f of x sub 2, then the function is said to be decreasing. So the function is decreasing. And again, this still has x sub 1 less than x sub 2, so x sub 1 less than x sub 2. This time f of x sub 1 is greater than f of x sub 2. Oops, sorry about that. Then it is decreasing. And then the last situation we can have here is that if f of x sub 1 is equal to f of x sub 2, then the function is said to be constant. So then the function is constant. So in this case, I still have my x sub 1, my x sub 2, and this time f of x sub 1 equals f of x sub 2, so it's constant, and we get a horizontal line. So again, increasing, decreasing, and constant. Then we also have something called a relative minimum and a relative maximum. So the relative minimum is the function value, or in other words, the y value, again, y value here, of a turning point where the function changes from decreasing to increasing. So we just learned about decreasing and increasing. When my function is changing from decreasing to increasing, we have what is called a relative minimum. And I'm going to draw a picture here for you. So an example of a relative minimum would be this point right here, because the function is decreasing at this section and then it changes down here and it is now increasing. That's called a relative minimum. And when you're giving the relative minimum as a point, you always give the y value. And then the opposite of that, if we have the relative maximum, it is the function value, or again, the y value of a turning point, where the function changes, abbreviate function there, where the function changes from increasing to decreasing. So this time it's already increasing and then it changes to decreasing. That's a relative maximum. So for example, if I have a parabola opening down, this point up here would be your relative max because the graph is increasing in this section and then it begins decreasing. That point is your relative maximum. It's important to remember that these are always your turning points. So these are always turning points on your graph. And there can be more than one, depending on what your graph looks like.